Okay, hopefully this doesn't wind up turning upside down for me, but if it does, just take your screen and flip it 180 degrees, because this is the best I can do with the camera, or the phone at the moment. So this is where I've gone, and where I've come from with this whole tap wrench idea. I thought I would kind of bring you guys along for a little bit of my thoughts throughout this thing. So this was one of the earlier versions, or one of the earlier designs of what I thought was going to possibly be my final, my grand design. Let's say it that way. I had originally thought about making it out of a solid block of aluminum, 3/8 of an inch thick, about an inch wide. I think this one was about 11 inches long, but I wound up scaling it down. Anyways, the idea was to try and get the thumb screw and all this stuff captured inside the body of it without having to do anything weird like make it in two pieces, which is what I was starting to think I was going to have to do. That's what all this other oddball stuff is. I was going through possible scenarios of cutting this thing, making it in two pieces, and then bolting it back together this way. I was thinking about riveting it, spot welding it, whatever I could do, because I don't have any means right now to do welding on aluminum. So then I saw a Joe Pye video about deep drilling. So it dawned on me that conceivably I could probably drill a 1/4 inch hole through this all the way through, and this is part of the main body here as well, to get my hole drilled into this for the screw, the jack screw that will actually clamp the movable jaw. Now I've since developed a better design, part of which was just removing this inboard section out of both handles. That way all I have to do is drill in a little bit here, put a guide down here at the bottom and drill through a little bit farther, and I'm golden. So anyways, that's kind of the direction I started off, and then I started kind of doodling other ideas. So this is a little bit of a combination between the earlier versions of the tap wrench that I've been building out of steel and the direction I want to go. So here it's kind of illustrating the issue that I had trying to get this internal area, all this material removed in here. After showing the video, the outside video where I was struggling to try and get that material removed, I wound up getting a reply back from Craig of Craig's Workshop. Yeah, I think that's it. The other Craig, as I always refer to him. Anyways, he had suggested just simply putting it on the rotary table to get this interior material removed. And I thought, for whatever reason, it initially dawned on me that my rotary table wasn't big enough. Like I needed to move farther away from the center. But after doodling a little bit last night, while I was sitting down here drafting up alternate ideas, it dawned on me that I didn't need to move farther away from center. I needed to move closer to the center. So after I wound up drafting out these two ideas here, what I wound up doing was trying this curve here and this curve here, these two inboard curves. I tried them at about 3 9/16 inch radius, and it's about as close to perfect as I could ever hope to be. So this is probably the direction that I'm going to go. Something like this version right here. Put this handle onto this body, and this is probably the direction I'm going for the tool making competition, if I can, you know, get there in time. I'm still working out details and whatnot. But basically all it is 1/2 inch hole drilled here, 7/8 inch hole drilled there, and then a radius on the rotary table. 3 9/16 here, plus about another 1/4 of an inch to get this outboard radius on both sides. And then come back in and do this outboard radius on the rotary table as well. So I think that this is the handle I'm going to wind up with. I'm still playing with possibly putting in an internal curve here in the main body, but I don't think that's going to find its way into the tool making competition. I have concerns about narrowing this section up too much and making this a little bit too weak. I mean, I kind of dimension things a little bit off of this piece of crap, and you know, this body is aluminum, cast aluminum, whatever. So I imagine they probably had a better idea of how to build these things than I do at this point in time, so I don't want to get too carried away with removing too much material from this area here. Anyways, the other thing that I'm contemplating is, if in the future I ever do get around to mass producing these things, more or less, in an effort to try and sell them, is a long-term design, because probably won't want to make a lot of these because it'll be so much more time consuming than making this version or this version or this version of handle. So, I mean, we'll see. I'll sort through the handle variations eventually with time, but so this here is the thumb wheel that will actuate the movable jaw, and then there'll be a 1/4 inch hole through here, a 1/4 inch hole through here, so that I can get these hardened jaws in there with what I'm thinking right now will be a 1/4 28 piece of all thread going through this area here. These little marks here, what I'm anticipating is kind of removing a little bit of the material of the main body of this thing, so that I have better access to the thumb wheel, because I want to make this thumb wheel pretty low profile also. So I'm thinking that the thumb wheel is probably going to be about a 1/2 inch in diameter ultimately, and I'm going to try and shoot for this shape here. So that's one of the next big challenges, is trying to make that special thumb wheel that has a nice curvature to it. And I want to try and get the slots that I mill into it to have an approximate curvature of that nature as well. So we'll see what happens. I don't think I'm going to tinker with any of this stuff out in the garage today, because it's still a fairly mellow day temperature-wise. But I think I'm probably going to go back to the project I was working on yesterday, and maybe with any amount of luck, do a little bit of welding. So anyways, that's it for today.